next speaker is Bob Lochel, who's been a high school math teacher for 18 years and a district instructional coach for 2. He is also an AP statistics reader. He is a suffering Philly sports fan. He named his cat after Bernie Parent. He's an expert on all things Price is Right, and his sign is Aquarius.
Okay, so I'm a high school math teacher, and today I want you to think about the language we use in math classrooms. And as an aside, I'm afraid what superhero name my kids would give me, so that's going to give me some food for thought today. But we use a lot of scary-looking math words in math class. So today I want to think about those words, reflect on them a little bit, give you some suggestions. So you think about some of the words we use, and if you walk into a math classroom, there's a lot of weird words. But today I'm actually going to suggest 3 words and phrases I would like to see expunged from math classrooms forever and ever. And it all started with this problem that I gave my freshmen a couple days ago. There it is. And it comes from a math contest, involves factorials. And my 9th graders, I asked them to shout out ideas for what they thought that they should do with this, and I wrote the ideas on the board for simplifying it. And all their solutions, all their explanations for simplifying this all came down to the same word, that they thought that they should be able to cancel things. That somehow we should just be able to cross things out, and something very magical will occur, and we do that. So in the nicest way I could, I poked holes in all their arguments, and we talked about what it meant to cancel things, and it occurred to me that canceling to teachers means something quite different than what it does to kids. Canceling to teachers is, I suppose, an organized process where we take common factors from a numerator and denominator, and we divide them out. So to teachers, it's a very organized process. But to students, it means something quite different. To students, canceling is sort of like mathematical Lord of the Flies, where we can just take an expression, just cross things out willy-nilly, and look at this, I got an answer, isn't that wonderful? So the first word I'd really like to see expunged today is the word cancel. And I know some teachers have gone to great lengths to make sure that kids don't cancel in this manner. This is not mine, but I think it's somewhat effective. So the first word I'd like to get rid of is cancel. Now, if you do want to see what your kids know about the relationship between factors and being able to divide a numerator and denominator, give them this challenge. Ask your students what a least common denominator is. I've given this to Algebra 2 students before they do a rational expressions chapter. And you'll get a lot of different responses. And I'm going to show some up here. The first area of responses you'll get are students who will give you examples, proof by example. That somehow if you give me an example of a least common denominator, that must prove that you know how to do all least common denominators. Well, that's nice, but really not a definition of least common denominator. What you'll mostly get are students who will have nice attempts with some language, including factors. They know that the divide and numerator and denominator, it has something to do with those numbers in the denominator, or guess and check, which is always the good standby. You just do enough of them, you can kind of guess and check it. Okay? So you get all these different responses here. Now, why is this important? Well, the Common Core tells it's important. Because if you're like me, I have my kids writing a lot. I have them explaining what they do every step of the way, and using appropriate language to build a logical progression of statements is very important here. So one word I'd like to get rid of is cancel. Here's the next idea I'd like to get rid of. So here's a problem on the board. You give this to any, I guess, 8th, 9th, 10th grader, and you ask them to simplify or multiply that. What will they say? Oh, of course, they're going to use that word. I'm not going to say that word because that word is banned from my classroom. In fact, not only is it banned, it's you have to pay money if you try to use that word in my classroom. Okay? Because that evil word with 4 letters, first, inner, outer, last, is only used in that one situation where we're multiplying binomials. But you'll see that word, I'm going to give a quarter here for saying FOIL, but we use FOIL all over the place. So I looked up all the different places where you see FOIL, and we see it in Khan Academy and different textbooks. And I saw one, the man with the big nose. I'd never seen that before. But FOIL is pretty ubiquitous, but it's only used for one little piece there. What I'd really like my kids to do is to tell me that they're using the distributive property. It would be totally awesome if a kid were to come up to me and say, I'm using the distributive property for this problem. So we really need to have kids use the correct language. The last piece, the last phrase I'd like to see expunged is this one that I see sometimes in middle school classrooms. We know this one? Same, change, change. Okay? This is how we subtract our positive and negative integers, right? We look for same, change, change. I'd really like to use more precise language at that. We need to get kids talking about positives, negatives, inverses, additive inverses, integers, using number lines to model it instead of going to these little snappy tricks that work temporarily, but really in the long run don't show any practical application as to what we know about the actual operation. I honestly forget what's next. Oh yeah, this is me. If you want to see what kids know about negatives and opposites, give them these 2 problems. Ask them to just read them. The top one is negative 4 squared, right? No, it's not. It's the opposite of 4 squared, and the kids are always worried. My calculator is wrong. It is broken in one way, shape, or form. So I want to leave you with this. If you've never seen Nick's to Tricks before, go online and look at Nick's to Tricks. It is filled with all kinds of different words and phrases that we need to think about in math class and think about them in different ways. And if we think about these things and train all of our colleagues in these ways, we can finally put foil where it belongs in the grocery store. Thank you very much.